Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and in this video we're going to go over open G tuning for beginners. So open tuning is always great for beginners because it tunes the guitar into a chord so that when you strum it, it doesn't sound like this, which isn't very pleasant sounding, right? Instead, it sounds like a chord. Now what that means is that we can replace the nut with our first finger and just kind of squeeze the guitar in different places to get chords because we're just moving that up. So you don't have to learn different chord shapes, which is great. What it also means is that the guitar, when you strum it and it sounds great, you can then just add single notes or a couple notes at a time up and down the neck and it will still sound pleasant. And it's great for experimentation. It's great for just throwing all the rules out and just following your ear and just deciding, does that sound good or doesn't that sound good? So in that regard, it's just a great way to get started for beginners. So now Open G is also a really popular rock tuning for bands like the Rolling Stones and the Black Crowes. So I will get into a couple ways you can throw in some of those Keith Richards type tricks, but really I'm just gonna kind of approach it as a way to get started as a beginner that might not know chord shapes up and down the neck. Before we get started, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. And if you want to be notified of any new lesson, be sure to tap the bell. All right, let's get started. All right, so what we do is we start with our regular tuning. And what we're going to end up doing is tuning down 3 of the strings. The E is going to go down a whole step to a D. The A is going to go down a whole step to a G, and the high E is also going to go down a whole step to a D. So first thing we're going to do is tune our E to our open D. We already have a D, so I have a tuner, but just to kind of get yourself started, and if you don't have a tuner, we're going to try to match that open string. I'm tuning down the E to match that open D. Now, if you want to get it in the same octave, you could do a 12th fret harmonic. Like that, see, because now it's the same note. And the harmonic, we just slightly touch right above the 12th fret on that low E string, and it creates the sound an octave higher. Okay, all right, then our A string, we're gonna tune down to a G, and we have an open G, so we could do the same thing. So I tune that A down to a G using using my open G as a reference and that harmonic. Then D stays the same, G stays the same, B stays the same. So anything you're used to playing on those 3 strings, whether it's chords, scales, improv, whatever, those 3 strings are the same. And then E, we're gonna match to this one. Down to a D. And then now once you do that kind of tuning, the whole neck kind of, being there's less tension, you might have to tune a second time. So now I'm using my headstock tuner that I have here just to fine tune. All right, so here we go. So now when I strum all the strings, it's just a G chord. Right? Now, that means there's only 3 notes here. In the G chord, we have the notes G, B, and D. And so now we have D, that's the 5th of the chord. G, that's the root. D, the 5th again. G, the root. B, the 3rd, the major 3rd. And then D again. Okay, so now what that means, let's say I wanted to play Happy Birthday. Look how easy this is. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Guitar Tricks. Happy birthday to you. See, because instead of having to go G, D, and make those hand contortions, the 3 main chords in any key, the 1, the 4, and the 5, here's our 1, our 4 is up on the 5th fret. That ends up being a C chord, and then a D chord up on the 7th fret. And we just bar it. Now, if you're having trouble barring all of it, just bar as many as you can, and you'll still get the same effect. So you could experiment with just moving that shape up. I like that one, it's more bluesy, right? Okay, so that's one great thing to do. Now you might be wondering, what about minor chords? Well, let's see, which was the note that was the third? That was on the B string. So a minor chord shape could look like this. On the top 4 strings, instead of doing a bar like this, we could do this shape right here. So what that looks like is, let's say we wanted to take that chord C, which looked like this, and make it minor. We can put our pinky on the 5th fret of the high E string, our first finger on the 4th fret of the B string, and then our 2nd and 3rd fingers are also going to go on the 5th fret of the D and the G string. And then we could just kind of mute out the A string with the tip of our finger. So that would be your minor chord shape. So let's say I'm experimenting. That one doesn't sound good major. Let me try it minor. That sounds good. Right? Or just keep it all major, but just so you have that option for the minor chord, that's what you could do. Now, being it's an open tuning, sometimes it sounds nice to let some of those strings ring out and just play partial chords. So let's say you just wanted to do like an A major shape, right? You know, a typical A major. You can just go, instead of doing the full bar or any bar, you could just do strings 2, 3, and 4. So now I have those open strings in the background. Okay, now another thing that's nice is just experimenting, keeping it modal so that the underlying chord is always G, and then just experimenting with single notes. You know, just experiment. See what sounds nice. All right, now one other thing I want to show you is this Keith Richards trick. Which is to take the bar and add from whatever the major chord is, let's say G, we're going to go from this 3rd to a sus4. So we just add our first finger on the 1st fret of the B string. Now on the bar, let's say I want to bring that up to here. Again, I'm just adding up 1 fret on the B string. And then we could also add this note. Let's do it open first, so there was this one. And we could add this note on the 2nd fret of the D string and add those together. Now there's 2 ways to think about that. We could kind of think of it as going from a G to a C chord. Or we could just think of it as a little embellishment, you know, a melodic embellishment. And then on these, All right, everybody, I hope those tips were helpful. So open tunings, like I said, they're great for experimentation. They're great for making things easier. They're a perfect way to just kind of get started with exploring the whole neck without having to learn all these hard shapes in your hand. They're great to just have that one chord be like a drone, so you're not even playing a chord progression. You're just letting that drone go while you add different notes up and down the neck. And yeah, hopefully if you want to use it to play chord progressions like we did with Happy Birthday, you can. If you want to add in the minor chord, you do have that shape available to you to find minor chords. And yeah, have fun with this. If you want to learn more about playing guitar, head over to guitartricks.com. Happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.